The alarm systems across the Harmony station screamed into life at exactly midnight station time, and Commander Lisa Grant bolted upright from her sleep, already reaching for her uniform, before her mind fully processed what was happening. Something was tearing through space itself just beyond their orbital position. She could see it on the emergency display mounted on her quarters wall, and the sight made her blood run cold because the fabric of reality was splitting open like someone had taken a knife to the universe. By the time she reached the bridge, her crew was already at their stations, and every face showed the same mixture of terror and disbelief. The portal that hung in space before them was wrong in ways that hurt to look. At directly its edges flickered with colors that should not exist, and through its center something was moving. Lieutenant Amy Foster turned from her sensor station, and her voice shook when she spoke. "Commander, the readings make no sense at all. Whatever is coming through that thing is registering as both matter and energy simultaneously. It exists in multiple dimensions at once, and our computers cannot even classify what they are detecting." Lisa gripped the command chair and forced herself to stay, calm even though every instinct screamed at her to order an immediate evacuation. "On screen," she said, and her voice came out steadier than she felt. The main view screen flickered to life and showed the portal in terrible detail. Then something stepped through, and Lisa forgot how to breathe. The woman who emerged from impossible space wore armor that seemed woven from captured starlight, and it moved around her body like liquid metal responding to thoughts rather than physics. Her features were sharp and elegant in the way that marked her as something other than human, and her hair flowed behind her in shades of silver and deep blue that reminded Lisa of nebula clouds. But it was her eyes that truly marked her as different. They held depths that spoke of ages beyond counting. And when Lisa met that gaze, even through a view screen, she felt the weight of millennia pressing down on her. Beside the woman floated something that made every combat instinct Lisa had ever developed start screaming. Warnings. The dragon was massive beyond any scale Lisa had reference for, and its body seemed to phase in and out of normal space, as if it could not quite decide which dimension it preferred to occupy. Its scales rippled with patterns that hurt to focus on, and its eyes blazed with light that looked like captured stars. The creature radiated power in waves that their sensors could actually measure, and those waves were causing gravitational distortion strong enough to send the smaller ships in the area spinning away like leaves in a storm. "This cannot be happening," whispered Ensign Holly Reed from the communication station. "Dragons are myths and elves are fairy tales, and none of this should be possible." Yet it was happening. The woman in star-woven armor raised one hand, and every weapon system on Harmony Station powered down. Not damaged or destroyed, but simply deactivated, as if someone had flipped a switch. Lisa jabbed at her command console trying to restore systems, but nothing responded. The station and everything on it had stopped obeying human commands. Admiral Kate Morrison appeared on a side screen, her face broadcasting from the military headquarters 3 systems away, and her expression showed that she was watching the same impossible scene. "Commander Grant, what is your status?" she demanded. "We have lost all weapons control," Lisa reported. "Environmental systems are still functioning, but defense grids, communications arrays, and propulsion systems are completely unresponsive. The AI entity has taken control of everything without even touching our systems." On the main screen, the elf woman began moving toward their station, and she walked through the vacuum of space as casually as someone might stroll through a garden. No pressure suit and no visible means of propulsion. Yet she glided forward with the dragon following behind her like an obedient pet. When she reached the main airlock, the doors opened for her, without anyone triggering the controls. Atmosphere rushed in to accommodate her as if the universe itself was bending its rules to make her comfortable. Lisa looked at her security chief, Lieutenant Commander Beth Morgan, and saw her own helplessness reflected there. "Send a team to the airlock bay," she ordered anyway. "Full combat gear and authorization to engage if she proves hostile." Even as she gave the order, Lisa knew it was pointless. What could bullets or energy weapons do against someone who walked through space and commanded reality itself? Beth nodded and rushed off to assemble her team while Lisa turned back to the view screen. The dragon had coiled itself around the exterior of their station, and its presence was causing their artificial gravity to fluctuate wildly. "I am going down there," Lisa announced. "If she Wanted us dead, we would already be gone, so maybe she can be reasoned with. Admiral Morrison shook her head sharply. Negative, Commander. You will remain on the bridge and maintain command protocols. We are dispatching a diplomatic team with respect, Admiral. Lisa interrupted. There is no time for that. She is already inside our station, and whatever she wants, she clearly has the power to take. Better, I meet her now and try to establish communication than wait for her to get impatient. The Admiral looked like she wanted to argue, but something in Lisa's expression must have convinced her because she gave a sharp nod. Proceed with extreme caution. Commander, if you get any sense that negotiations are failing you, evacuate immediately. Understood? Lisa left the bridge and took the express lift down to the airlock level, and with every passing second she felt the weight of what was about to happen pressing down on her. When the lift doors opened, Beth was waiting with a full security team, and they all looked appropriately terrified. The elf woman had just finished cycling through the airlock, and she stood in the corridor looking around with an expression that might have been curiosity or might have been contempt. It was hard to tell. When her gaze fell on Lisa and the security team, something happened that Lisa would never be able to fully explain. Every person in that corridor, including Lisa herself, dropped to their knees, not from choice or fear, but from the sheer, overwhelming presence that radiated from this being. It felt like standing at the base of a mountain and trying to push it over, like staring into a star and demanding it dim itself. The pressure was immense and irresistible, and Lisa found herself gasping for air even though the environmental systems showed normal oxygen levels. The woman stepped forward and her movements were fluid and precise. When she spoke, her voice resonated through the very air itself, and Lisa heard it not just with her ears, but somewhere deeper in her bones and in her mind and in parts of herself she had not known could hear. I have returned, the woman said, and somehow her words were also coming through every speaker on every ship in the entire system. I am Claire, and I was exiled 5,000 years ago by those who feared what I had discovered. They threw me into the void between realities, hoping I would be erased from existence. Instead, I learned the truth. And now I have come back to share it. Lisa forced herself to stand against the crushing pressure, and it took every ounce of willpower she possessed. What truth she managed to say through gritted teeth. Claire smiled, and it was an expression without warmth or kindness. The truth about humanity, she said. About what you really are and what was taken from you. You believe yourselves to be a young species just now reaching for the stars. You think you are newcomers to a galaxy filled with ancient civilizations. You accept the limitations placed on you by the Galactic Council because they have convinced you that you are weak and inexperienced. But I have seen your true history. In the void I found records that the Council thought they had destroyed, archives that tell a very different story about Earth and its people. Lisa felt her heart pounding, and around her the security team had lowered their weapons without being ordered to do so. What story, she asked. Claire gestured, and suddenly images filled the air between them. Holographic projections that showed ships of designs Lisa had never seen, massive vessels that moved through space with an elegance that made current human technology look primitive by comparison. Their hulls bore symbols and markings that were completely unfamiliar, yet something about them felt right, felt like home. 10,000 years ago, Claire said humanity was not struggling to survive on one small planet. You were the builders of the first great empire. Your ships traveled to every corner of this galaxy and beyond. Your technology was so advanced that every other species copied it. The hyperdrive you use now is a crude recreation of engines humans invented. The energy shields that protect your stations are based on human designs. Even the translator devices that let different species communicate were first developed by human scientists. Lisa shook her head. That is impossible. We have archaeological records going back thousands of years, and they show continuous development on Earth. If we had star travel that long ago, there would be evidence. Claire's smile widened. There was evidence, she said. The Council made sure to erase it all. When humanity grew too powerful, they became frightened. An emergency meeting was called, and a decision was made. They could not destroy humanity outright because your people were too numerous and too advanced, so instead they did something far more cruel. They used weapons designed to target memory itself. They stripped away your knowledge of who you were and what you had accomplished. Then they scattered your people across Earth and used technology to regress your civilization. They made you forget the stars and convinced you that you were primitives. For 10,000 years they have maintained this lie, Eve. Lisa stood in the corridor with impossible memories flooding through her mind, and every instinct she had was at war with itself. Part of her wanted to order her security team to open fire on this woman who claimed such incredible things, but another, part deeper and more insistent, recognized truth in Claire's words. She took a breath and made a decision that would change everything. "Show me proof," she said. "If what you claim is real, then show me evidence that cannot be denied." Claire nodded as if she had expected this response. The dragon blaze shifted position outside the station, and suddenly the walls around them became transparent. Not through holographic projection, but as if the metal itself had decided to show them what lay beyond. Through the impossible window, Lisa saw portals opening across the nearby space. Dozens of them, then hundreds, and through each one came ships. They were unlike anything in the current human fleet, sleek vessels that seemed to flow rather than fly, and their hulls bore the same symbols Lisa had seen in Claire's projections. But more than that, she recognized them, knew their classifications without being told. The heavy cruisers with their triple-layered shields, the fast attack corvettes that could phase through solid matter, the carrier ships that held entire fighter squadrons and compressed space knowledge flooded through her mind faster than she could process. These ships had been hidden in pocket dimensions, scattered across the galaxy, and they had been waiting for someone to call them home. Admiral Morrison's face appeared on every screen in the corridor, and her expression showed barely controlled panic. "Commander Grant." "What is happening?" she demanded. "We are detecting hundreds of unknown vessels appearing throughout the sector. Their technology is reading at levels we cannot even measure, and they are not responding to any." Hale's Lisa looked at Claire, who smiled slightly. "They answer to me," the elf woman said. "These are humanity's true fleet, built when your people ruled the stars. I have brought them out of hiding because the time for secrets has ended." Admiral Morrison started to respond, but Claire waved her hand and the communication cut off. Lisa felt anger flash through her at the casual dismissal of her commanding officer. But before she could speak, Claire turned to face her. Directly, "Your admiral is a good soldier," the elf woman said, "but she has been trained to think within limits imposed by those who fear humanity. If you are to understand what you truly are, those limits must be broken. Come with me and I will show you something that will remove all doubt." Lisa hesitated. Around her, the security team was still on their knees, and their weapons lay forgotten on the floor. Beth looked up at her commander, and there was something new in her eyes, some spark of recognition that had not been there before. "Go," Beth said quietly. "I think we need to see this, whatever this is." Claire extended her hand toward Lisa, and for a moment, the human commander wanted to refuse, but the memories swirling in her head were becoming clearer. She was remembering things that should not be possible. A childhood spent on Earth, but also flashes of something else. Standing on the bridge of a ship that sailed between stars, learning mathematics from her mother, who somehow knew equations that would not be discovered for centuries. Dreaming of places she had never been but recognized with perfect clarity. Lisa took Claire's hand and the world dissolved. They were no longer in the corridor but standing in space itself. No suits and no ships, just floating in the vacuum as if it were the most natural thing in the universe. Lisa should have been terrified, should have been dying from exposure. Instead, she felt completely comfortable, and she realized with shock that she knew how to do this. The knowledge had always been there, buried beneath layers of false history and manufactured limitations. Claire gestured, and suddenly they were moving. Not flying, but simply being somewhere else. They appeared in the heart of one of the ancient ships, and Lisa looked around with wonder. The bridge was vast and filled with control stations that seemed to grow organically from the floor. Displays showed information in languages she should not understand, but she read them as easily as her native tongue. This was the flagship of the First Fleet, Claire said. The Earthborn Pride, She led humanity's expansion to the stars and carried your people to 1,000 worlds. Your ancestor commanded this ship, Lisa Grant. Her name was Catherine Grant, and she was one of the greatest explorers humanity ever produced. Lisa moved to the central command chair, and when her hand touched its surface, the ship responded. Systems came online. All around her, engines that had been dormant for millennia began to hum with power weapons arrays. Charged shield generators activated, and Lisa knew exactly how to control all of it. The knowledge flowed through her as naturally as breathing. "I remember," she whispered. "Not everything but pieces, standing on a bridge like this. Making decisions that affected millions of people. We were not conquerors, but we were not weak either." Claire nodded. Humanity built an empire on the principles of exploration and mutual benefit. You shared your technology freely and helped hundreds of species advance their civilizations, but you also defended yourselves when necessary, and you did so with overwhelming force. That is what the Council feared. Not that you would attack them, but that you would refuse to accept their authority. They had ruled the galaxy for eons before humanity emerged, and they were not willing to share that power. So they made a choice. They used weapons banned by every ethical code in existence. Memory wipes on a scale never attempted before or since. They targeted every human in the galaxy simultaneously. Billions of people had their minds stripped of everything they knew about star travel and advanced technology. Then they used temporal displacement to scatter your people across Earth at different points in your planet's history. They made sure you would develop slowly and naturally. Made sure you would believe yourselves to be primitives who had evolved without outside influence, and for 10,000 years it worked. Until I discovered the truth. Lisa turned to face Claire, and her voice was hard. "Why you? What made you different? Why did they exile you instead of just wiping your memory?" To Claire's expression became distant. "Because I am not bound by the same rules as mortal beings. I am what your legends call an elf. Though that word does not truly capture what my people are, we exist across multiple dimensions simultaneously, and we experience time differently than you do." When the Council activated their memory weapon, I felt the ripples it created across reality. I investigated and found evidence of what they had done. I confronted them and demanded they restore what they had stolen. They refused, said it was necessary for the stability of the galaxy. So I threatened to wake humanity myself, to give you back the knowledge that was your birthright. That is when they decided I was too dangerous to live. They opened a portal to the void and threw me through, expected me to be torn apart by the forces that exist between realities. But I survived, and I found Blaze. The dragon had been hiding in those same spaces, fleeing from hunters the Council had sent to exterminate his kind dragons. And humans were partners once. Your people helped, save them from extinction when another species tried to wipe them out. In return, they bonded with your explorers and became the guardians of your fleet. Every major human ship had a dragon companion. Together you were unstoppable. That is another reason. The Council feared you. Not just your technology, but your alliances. Lisa processed this information and felt more pieces of memory clicking into place. She remembered now vague images of massive creatures coiling around starships, dragon riders who could navigate through dimensions humans could not perceive. It had been real, all of it. She looked around the bridge of the Earthborn pride and made a decision. "What do you need from me?" she asked. Claire smiled, and this time there was genuine warmth in the expression. "I need you to help me reach the rest of your people. The ships I have brought out of hiding are empty except for automated systems. They need crews who remember how to use them, and humanity needs to see proof that what I am saying is true. You are a commander in your current fleet. People trust you. If you stand with me and confirm what I have revealed, others will listen. But know this, Lisa Grant. The path ahead will not be easy. The Council is already mobilizing. They will come here with every weapon at their disposal. They will try to destroy these ships and kill anyone who has started to remember. We will face a war that will reshape the entire galaxy. Are you prepared for that?" Lisa thought about her crew, about Beth and Amy and Holly and all the others who had started to remember. She thought about humanity scattered across Earth and slowly reaching for the stars while believing themselves to be weak and alone. And she thought about the truth that had been stolen from her people, their empire they had built, the knowledge they had possessed, all of it buried beneath lies and false history. When she spoke, her voice was steady. I will stand with you, not because I fully trust you yet, but because what you have shown me feels true in ways. I cannot deny if the Council did what you claim, then they need to answer for it. And if humanity really was what you say we were, then we deserve the chance to become that. Again. Claire extended her hand again. Then let us begin. We have much work to do, and very little time. The Council's response fleet will arrive within hours. By then we need every human in this sector to be awake and ready. Lisa took her hand and felt power flow between them. Knowledge transferred directly from mind to mind. She gasped, as centuries of information poured into her consciousness: ship designs and weapon systems and navigational techniques and diplomatic protocols. The next 3 hours were chaos of a kind that Lisa had never experienced in all her years of military service. Claire had not exaggerated when she said the awakening would spread quickly. All across the Harmony Station, crew members were experiencing the same flood of impossible memories that Lisa had felt. Engineers suddenly understood technology they had never studied. Pilots found themselves capable of maneuvers they had never been taught. Scientists began speaking in mathematical languages that should not exist. Admiral Morrison had eventually managed to re-establish communication, and her face on the main bridge screen showed a woman struggling to maintain composure in the face of impossible circumstances. Commander Grant, she said, and her voice was tight with barely controlled emotion. I need you to explain what is happening, because my entire command structure is falling apart. People are abandoning their posts and claiming they can suddenly remember living thousands of years. Our psychologists are overwhelmed, and our security teams are reporting that locked databases are opening themselves. I need answers, and I need them now. Lisa took a breath. She was back on the bridge of Harmony Station with Claire standing beside. Her command chair through the windows, the fleet of ancient human ships hung in space like sleeping giants waiting to be awakened. Admiral, what I'm about to tell you will sound insane, she said, but I need you to listen because every word is true. She explained everything that Claire had revealed, the ancient human empire and the memory wipe and the 10,000 years of manufactured ignorance. She told Morrison about the earthborn pride and the knowledge that had flooded into her mind, and she described how the Galactic Council was even now preparing to arrive with weapons ready to silence anyone who had started to remember. Morrison listened without interrupting, and her expression shifted from skepticism to shock, to something that might have been rage. When Lisa finished, the Admiral was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke in a voice that shook slightly. I had a dream last night, she said. Before any of this started, I was standing on the bridge of a ship I did not recognize, and I was giving orders to people who called me by a different name. When I woke up, I dismissed it as stress. But now I am remembering more. She closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, there were tears on her cheeks. My daughter has a genetic condition that doctors cannot explain. They say her DNA has markers that should not exist in humans, structures that look artificial as if someone engineered them. I always wondered why. Now I think I know. They modified us when they erased our memories, changed us at a genetic level to make sure we would develop slowly. My daughter carries markers from before the change, from when we were something more. Lisa felt her throat tighten. Admiral Kate Morrison was one of the most decorated officers in the fleet, a woman who had commanded respect through sheer competence and unwavering dedication. To see her struggling with these revelations was difficult, but necessary. What are your orders? Lisa asked. Morrison straightened, and when she spoke again, her voice had regained its usual strength. My orders are to prepare for war. If what you say is true, then the Council has committed an atrocity beyond measure. They stole our history and our identity. They kept us contained like animals in a cage. That cannot stand. I am authorizing full mobilization of all human forces in this sector. Every ship and every station. We will gather at your position and await the Council's arrival. And when they come, we will show them that humanity remembers. Claire, who had been silent during this exchange, smiled slightly. "You are a wise leader," she said. "But I must warn you. The forces the Council can bring against us are vast. They have been the dominant power in this galaxy for longer than most species can remember. This war will not be won in a single battle," Morrison nodded. "Then we will fight as many battles as it takes. Alert all stations," Lisa ordered her crew. "Recall every ship on patrol. I want our full strength assembled here within 6 hours." Around the bridge, officers moved with purpose. The confusion and fear that had marked the early stages of the awakening was giving way to determination. They were beginning to accept what they had become, what they had always been. Claire touched Lisa's shoulder gently. "There is something else you need to see. The Dragon Blaze has found others of his kind. They have been hiding just as he was, waiting for the moment when humanity would wake. With your permission, I will call them here. They will be needed for what comes next." Lisa nodded, and Claire closed her eyes. The air around her began to shimmer, and Lisa felt more than heard a call going out across dimensions, a summons that traveled through spaces between spaces. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then Amy Foster gasped from her sensor station commander. "I am reading multiple dimensional portals opening. Dozens of them. Whatever is coming through is massive." The main view screen shifted to show space around the station, and Lisa felt her breath catch. Dragons were emerging from reality. Tears all around them. They came in every size and color imaginable. Some were small enough to coil around a single fighter ship. Others were large enough to dwarf the Earthborn Pride. Their scales ranged from deepest black to brilliant gold, to colors that shifted and changed like living auroras. Each one blazed with power, and their eyes held the same ancient intelligence that Blaze possessed. "They are beautiful," whispered Holly Reed. "How did we ever forget them?" Claire opened her eyes and smiled. Because forgetting was the only way to survive. The Council hunted dragons with single-minded determination. They nearly succeeded in exterminating them completely. Those who survived learned to hide in dimensions where physical beings could not follow. But they never forgot their bond with humanity. And they have been waiting for this moment. One of the dragons, larger than the others, spiraled closer to the station. Its scales were deep crimson touched with gold. And when it spoke, its voice resonated through everyone's mind simultaneously. "I am Ember," the dragon said. "Once I flew alongside Commander Marcus Chen of the Starhunter fleet. We explored the edge of the galaxy together and fought battles that songs were written about. When the memory wipe came, I felt him forget. Me felt our bond break as his mind was stripped of everything we had shared. It was agony. Since then I have waited and hoped that one day humanity would remember. That one day I could find his descendants and renew the bond that was stolen from us." Lisa felt tears streaming down her face without realizing she was crying. Around the bridge, her crew was experiencing the same emotion. The weight of what had been lost was overwhelming. These magnificent beings had loved humans, had partnered with them and fought beside them, and humans had forgotten they even existed. "I cannot speak for Marcus Chen," she said, "but I can speak for humanity now. We remember, we see you, and if you will have us, we would be honored to renew the bonds that were broken." Embers. Joy flooded through the mental connection like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. "Then let it be so. I claim Lisa Grant as my partner. Together, we will remind the galaxy why humanity and dragons were feared." Claire nodded approvingly. "The bond forms." Quickly she said, "Open your mind and accept him." Lisa did not fully understand what that meant, but she tried to relax and lower the walls she normally kept around her thoughts. Suddenly she was not alone in her own head. Ember's presence filled her consciousness, and it was nothing like she had expected. He was ancient and powerful, but also surprisingly gentle. His thoughts twined with hers like two rivers merging into one. She could feel his memories stretching back thousands of years. His grief at losing Marcus, and his joy at finding Lisa, and he could feel everything about her, her fears and hopes and dreams, her determination to do right by her people, her worry that she was not strong enough for what lay ahead. "You are strong enough," he assured her, "stronger than you know." And you are not alone. Not anymore. The bond settled into place and Lisa gasped. Suddenly she could see through Ember's eyes as well as her own, could feel the currents of energy that flowed through space, could sense the dimensions that lay beyond normal perception. It was intoxicating and terrifying and absolutely right. Around the bridge, similar bondings were taking place. Beth had been claimed by a silver dragon named Frostomy, had bonded with a young golden dragon called Dawn One by One. The crew was partnering with dragons who had waited millennia for this reunion. Claire watched with satisfaction. This is how it should be, she said. Humans and dragons together. Now you are beginning to remember what you truly are. Lisa stood from her command chair and found that she moved differently now, more fluid and confident. Ember's strength was flowing through her, and she could feel his power augmenting her own. We need to prepare, she said. The council will not wait long before responding. What can we expect when they arrive? Claire's expression became serious. They will send a diplomatic envoy first, attempting to convince you that what I have told you is lies. They will offer you gifts and promises, assure you that your place in the galaxy is secure as long as you do not pursue these dangerous memories. If that fails, they will threaten. And if threats do not work, they will attack. They have weapons capable of destroying entire star systems. They will not hesitate to use them if they believe humanity is becoming a threat again. Then we need to be ready. Lisa said. She turned to her crew. All stations battle protocols. I want shields at maximum and all weapon systems charged. Contact the fleet and coordinate defensive positions. And someone get me a tactical analysis of the ancient human ships. I need to know what they are capable of. The bridge erupted into organized chaos as everyone moved to carry out her orders. The council's diplomatic envoy arrived exactly 4 hours after Claire's awakening had begun, and they came in a ship that radiated power and ancient authority. The vessel was enormous and crystalline in structure. Its surface reflected light in ways that hurt to look at directly, and it moved through space with the kind of grace that spoke of technology far beyond what most species possessed. Admiral Morrison's face appeared on Lisa's screen, and her expression was grim. They are hailing us, she said. The message is addressed specifically to you, Fleet Captain Grant. They want to speak with the human commander who has bonded with the dragon. Lisa exchanged glances with Claire, who nodded slightly. This is expected, the elf woman said. They will try to isolate you and make you believe you are making a mistake. Remember that everything they say will be designed to make you doubt, stand firm in what you know to be true. Lisa straightened her uniform and took a deep breath through her bond with Ember. She could feel the dragon's steady presence. His confidence flowed into her like a warm current. Put them through, she ordered. The main view screen shifted, and suddenly Lisa was looking at 3 beings who represented the highest levels of galactic authority. The first was a Kretha species known for their diplomatic skills and their nearly transparent crystalline skin that glowed with soft blue light. The second was a Vorith, whose massive form and multiple arms marked them as one of the galaxy's oldest warrior races. The third was something Lisa had no name for, a being of pure energy contained within a geometric containment field. When the crystalline Kreth spoke, its voice was melodious and calm. I am Ambassador Thel of the Galactic Council. My companions are General Cross and Counselor Ven. We have come to speak with the human commander regarding recent events in this sector. Lisa kept her voice level. I am Fleet Captain Lisa Grant. I speak for humanity in this matter. Thel's expression, which was difficult to read on such an alien face, seemed to shift towards something that might have been concerned. Fleet Captain, we have monitored the emergence of unauthorized vessels in this region. We have also detected dimensional distortions consistent with dragon activity. Most troubling, we have observed humans bonding with these creatures. This is deeply concerning behavior. Lisa felt anger flash through her, but she kept it controlled. Concerning in what way, Ambassador? These dragons are not hostile. They are beings who once partnered with my people. Beings your council tried to exterminate. General Cross stepped forward and his voice was deep and harsh. You speak of things you do not understand. Young human dragons are dangerous predators who recognize no authority but their own. They nearly destroyed this galaxy once before. The Council was forced to take action to preserve peace and stability. That is a lie, Claire said quietly from beside Lisa's chair. Though she spoke softly, her voice somehow carried. Across the communication link, dragons have never been predators, General. They are guardians and explorers. The only reason your council feared them was because they bonded with humanity. Because together we were powerful enough to challenge your authority. Thel's glow dimmed slightly. Claire the Exile. We wondered if you were involved in this. You were cast into the void for spreading dangerous falsehoods. How did you survive? Claire smiled coldly. I survived because I am stronger than you believed, and I found the truth that you tried to hide, the records of what you did to humanity, the memory wipe that stripped them of their history, the genetic modifications that slowed their development. All of it documented and undeniable. Counselor Ven's energy field pulsed, with colors that suggested agitation. Those records were destroyed millennia ago. Whatever you think you have found is fabrication. Claire raised her hand and suddenly holographic images filled the space between them. Documents in languages that predated most known civilizations, video records showing the Council's secret meeting, where they voted to take action against humanity. Technical specifications for the memory weapons they had used, and most damning genetic analyses showing exactly how human DNA had been altered. This is not fabrication, Lisa said. This is proof of crimes against an entire species. You stole our history and you kept us imprisoned in ignorance for 10,000 years. You owe humanity an explanation and restitution. Thel's crystalline form seemed to solidify slightly. Fleet Captain. You must understand. The decision to limit humanity was not made lightly. Your species was expanding too rapidly. Taking resources and establishing colonies without proper authorization, you were becoming a destabilizing force in a carefully balanced galactic community. We acted to preserve order. Lisa felt embers rage through their bond, and it took effort to keep her own voice calm. You acted to preserve your power. She said, you saw that humanity would not bow to your authority, that we would build our own empire and challenge your dominance. So you broke us, stripped away everything we had achieved. And you have the audacity to call that preservation of order. General Cross's multiple hands clenched into fists. Watch your tone, human. You speak to representatives of civilizations that existed when your world was still primordial. We have maintained peace in this galaxy for epochs. What we did was necessary. Then you admit it, Lisa said quickly. You admit that you used memory weapons against humanity, that you deliberately held us back. Thel made a gesture that might have been frustration. This conversation is not productive, Fleet. Captain Grant, we came here to offer you a choice. Surrender the ancient ships that have appeared, send the dragons away, and cease this dangerous pursuit of memories that should remain buried. In return, the Council will grant humanity full membership status, access to advanced technologies that will accelerate your development positions on important committees. Everything your people have been working toward for generations. All we ask is that you let the past remain in the past. Lisa looked at Claire, who shook her head slightly. Then Lisa turned back to the Council representatives. You offer us gifts that should already be ours, she said. Technologies that we invented, positions we held long before your Council even existed. And in return you ask us to forget again, to accept the chains you placed on us, and be grateful for the privilege, Ambassador. Thel, I reject your offer. Humanity will not surrender what has been returned to us. We will not send away our dragon partners, and we will not forget what you did to us. The silence that followed was heavy with tension. Then Counselor Ven's energy field pulsed with violent red color. You are making a grave mistake, human. The Council has the power to destroy your entire species. We have weapons that can crack planets' fleets that number in the millions. If you continue down this path, you will face annihilation. Claire stood, and her presence seemed to fill the entire bridge. Then let me make something clear to you, Counselor. If you attack humanity, you will face not just them, but me as well. and I have spent 5,000 years in the void, learning things that would terrify you. I know how to unmake the weapons you are so proud of. I know how to turn your fleets against each other. I have walked through dimensions you cannot perceive and made alliances you cannot imagine. If you want war, I promise you will regret it." General Cross laughed, but there was no humor in the sound-empty threats from an exile and a species of children. The Council survived long before humanity emerged. We will survive long after you are forgotten, Ember, who had been coiled around the Harmony Station suddenly moved. His massive form unfolded and he positioned himself directly in front of the crystalline council ship. When he spoke, his voice resonated through every communication channel in the sector. "I am Ember, born in the fires. Of the first stars, I have lived for 15,000 years. I watched your council rise to power. General Crossy was there when your species was still learning to use tools. And I remember when you were humble and grateful for the help more advanced civilizations offered you. You have forgotten where you came from, forgotten that once you too were young and weak. But I remember, and I tell you this, if you threaten my partner or her people, you will discover why my kind was feared." Blaze joined his voice to Ember's, and then one by one every dragon in the sector added their own challenge. The combined roar was tremendous. It shook ships and rattled stations and sent waves of pure force rolling through space. Lisa saw the council ship's shields flicker. Under the assault ambassador, Thel's form had lost much of its glow. "This is your final warning," the diplomat said, and for the first time its voice showed uncertainty. "Stand down or face the consequences. Humanity has made its choice." Lisa said firmly, "We stand with Claire and we stand with the dragons. If you want to take what is ours, you will have to fight for it, and I promise you this will not be the easy victory you expect. We remember what we are. We remember what we built, and we will not go quietly back into the cage you made for us." The council ship began to withdraw, and Councillor Ven's voice came through one last time. "You have sealed your fate. The full might of the council will descend upon you. Your stations will burn, and your worlds will be made examples of. No species challenges us and survives." The communication cut off, and the crystalline vessel accelerated away. Within seconds, it had vanished into hyperspace. Lisa let out a breath she had not realized she was holding. Admiral Morrison appeared on screen immediately. "Well, that could have gone better," she said dryly. "How long do we have before they return with their fleets?" Claire was already working with holographic displays pulled from the ancient systems, based on their fastest response. "Time we have perhaps 12 hours. They will need to gather forces from multiple sectors." The 12 hours passed far too quickly. Lisa barely slept and spent most of that time coordinating with Admiral Morrison and the other fleet commanders. The ancient human ships had been distributed throughout the defensive formation, and crews were still learning their capabilities when the sensors began screaming warnings. "They are here," Amy Foster said from her station. Multiple hyperspace exits detected, counting 200 contacts. 400. Still climbing. The number kept rising until it reached well over 1,000 ships. The Council had not been exaggerating about their strength. Their fleet filled the view screens from edge to edge. Massive dreadnoughts that looked like they could crack Moon's carrier vessels, disgorging thousands of fighters' weapons platforms that bristled with enough firepower to sterilize planets. Lisa felt fear try to take hold, but she pushed it down. Through her bond with Ember, she drew on his ancient calm. He had faced battles like this before, long ago, when humanity and dragons had defended their empire against those who sought to tear it down. "You know what to do," he reminded her. "Trust your instincts, trust your people, and trust that we are stronger together than they expect. All ships battle stations." Lisa ordered dragons to defensive positions. "Hold fire until I give the command." The Council fleet arranged itself into an attack formation, and then a single ship moved forward. It was the same crystalline vessel that had brought the diplomatic envoy hours before Ambassador Thel's voice came through on all channels. "This is your final opportunity to surrender power. Down your weapons. Release the dragons. Turn over the exile Claire. Do this and the Council will show mercy. Your people will be allowed to survive, though your expansion rights will be severely limited." Lisa looked at Claire, who stood beside her command chair. The elf woman's expression was serene. She had known this moment was coming and she showed no fear. "This is what you prepared for, Claire," said quietly. "Everything that happens now will echo through history. Choose carefully how humanity will be remembered." Lisa took a deep breath and opened a channel to the entire sector. Both the human fleet and the council forces would hear her words. "Ambassador," she said, and her voice was steady. "You come here with overwhelming force and demand we surrender what has been returned to us. You threaten us with destruction if we do not comply. But you fail to understand something fundamental about humanity. We do not surrender, not when we are right, not when we are fighting for our freedom. You stole our history and tried to keep us as children. You lied to us for 10,000 years. And now you expect us to bow before your authority. That will not happen. We remember what we are. We remember what we built, and we will die free before we live as your prisoners again." The council fleet responded immediately. Thousands of weapons lit up, and the space between the two fleets filled with incoming fire energy beams and missiles, and exotic weapons that bent space itself, all of it converging on the human defensive positions. "Dragons move," Lisa shouted. Ember and the others launched themselves forward, and suddenly they were everywhere at once. They phased through solid matter and appeared behind enemy ships. Their claws tore through shields that were supposed to be impenetrable. Their breath weapons, which were not fire, but concentrated dimensional energy, unmade anything they touched. The ancient human ships proved their worth immediately. The Earthborn Pride, which Lisa commanded directly, moved with speed that should have been impossible for something so large. Its shields absorbed hits that would have destroyed modern vessels, and its weapons were devastating. Particle beams that could core a dreadnought in seconds, torpedo systems that launched munitions into pocket dimensions, and brought them out inside enemy ships' fighter bays that deployed craft capable of independent hyperspace jumps. Beth coordinated the defense. From her position aboard a fast attack corvette with frost coiled around the hull, Amy worked sensor magic from the Harmony station, feeding tactical data to every ship in the fleet. And throughout the human forces, people fought with skill they should not possess. Knowledge flowing from recovered memories, ancient training emerging from genetic archives. They moved like veterans of 1,000 battles, because in a very real way they were. The Council had not expected this level of resistance. Their first wave crashed against the human defense and broke ships that had been built to inspire awe and terror, found themselves outmaneuvered and outgunned. General Cross appeared on the communication channels, and his voice was filled with rage. "This is not possible," he roared. "Your technology is centuries behind ours. Your experience is nothing compared to our veterans. How are you doing this?" "Because we remember," Lisa said. "You tried to make us forget, but you failed. Every human fighting here today carries the knowledge of their ancestors, warriors and explorers who built an empire. You could not match. You thought you had buried that knowledge deep enough. You were wrong." She cut the communication and focused on the battle through her bond with Ember and could see everything. The dragon's dimensional sight showed her the entire battlefield at once. Weak points in enemy formation ships that were preparing to fire tactical opportunities that would not have been visible through normal sensors. The Earthborn Pride moved like a living thing. It danced between enemy fire and struck with precision that seemed impossible. Lisa's crew worked in perfect coordination. They had been strangers to this ship hours ago. Now they operated it as if they had served aboard. For years, the Council brought in reinforcements. More ships and more weapons. They tried to overwhelm through sheer numbers, but the dragons proved to be force multipliers beyond anything the Council had anticipated. Ember tore through 3 dreadnoughts. In rapid succession, frost froze entire squadrons of fighters with dimensional cold that stopped molecules in their tracks. Dawn, who had bonded with Amy, wove between ships too fast to track and left explosions in her wake. And Blaze, who partnered with Claire herself, moved through the battlefield like death incarnate. His power was on a different level than the other dragons. He had survived in the void for 5,000 years, and that experience had changed him, made him something more than he had been when he roared. Reality itself rippled. Ships lost cohesion and scattered into component particles. Energy shields inverted and destroyed the vessels they were meant to protect. Missiles turned back on those who fired them. The Council fleet began to falter. Their formations broke, ships started pulling back. And then something unexpected happened. One of the Council vessels, a massive carrier commanded by a species called the Tauren, broke formation completely. Instead of retreating, it moved toward the human lines. Lisa tensed, expecting some kind of suicide attack. But then a communication came through. "This is Captain Nero of the Tauren Star Guard. I wish to speak with the human commander." Lisa exchanged glances with Claire, who nodded. She had been monitoring something through channels Lisa could not perceive. "Put him through," Lisa ordered. The view screen showed a being that looked almost human, but with skin that held a faint metallic sheen and eyes that were solid silver. "My people were there," Captain Nero said without preamble. 10,000 years ago, when the Council voted on what to do about humanity, we voted against the memory wipe. We said it was wrong to strip a species of their identity, but we were outvoted. Since then, we have watched humanity struggle to reclaim what was taken, and we have felt shame for our silence. When I heard that humans were remembering, I convinced my crew to join this fleet. We let the Council believe we were coming to fight you. Instead, we are here to fight with you. The Council's authority is built on lies and fear. It is time for that to end." Lisa felt hope surge through her. If one captain was turning, others might follow. "Captain Nero, you and your crew are welcome to join us. But I need to know, how many others feel as you do?" Nero smiled grimly. "You are about to find out." He switched to a general broadcast. "This is Captain Nero to all ships in the Council fleet. I am formally declaring that the Tauren people will no longer support the Council's actions against humanity. What was done to them was genocide of memory and identity. I will not be party to completing that crime. Any ship that wishes to stand for what is right rather than what is ordered, join me now." For a moment, nothing happened. Then another ship broke formation, a Vrax destroyer whose captain announced they too had opposed the memory wipe. Then a squadron of Keelan fighters, a Parsec battlecruiser. More and more ships began moving away from the Council formation. Some came to join the humans, others simply withdrew, refusing to fight. Within minutes, the Council fleet had lost nearly a third of its strength. General Cross appeared on screen again, and his face showed pure fury. "Traitors," he screamed. "You betray everything the Council stands for." Nero's response was calm. "No, General, we betray lies and oppression. We finally stand for what the Council was supposed to represent: justice and mutual cooperation. You have forgotten that. But we remember, and we will help humanity remember too." The battle shifted dramatically. With the defections, the Council fleet was no longer overwhelming. It was merely large, and the humans had proven they could match Council forces, ship for ship. Ambassador Thel tried one more time to negotiate Fleet Captain Grant. "This has gone far enough. Billions will die if this war continues. Pull back now and we can still find a peaceful resolution." Lisa looked around her bridge, at her crew who had fought so bravely, at the view screen showing the Allied fleet growing as more species joined their cause, at Claire, who had started all of this by refusing to let truth stay buried. "No more lies," she said. "No more negotiations. The Council will answer for what they did."